Smile for the camera. Say cheese.
Cheese, cheeseburgers and French fries.
Cheddar.
Happy Monday. Welcome everyone to Think Outside the Red Box, where we are here every Monday at 8 p.m. And we are so glad to be here in front of you all. Thanking you all for joining us and showing us so much love. I hope you all are having a great Monday. This is going to be a good topic. This is going to be a good conversation as usual. So, I got to get a shout out to my co-hosts. Michael, welcome.
Nice to be here as
Yeah.
always.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
How was you all's week and weekend? Any good news to give?
I saved a lot of money by switching to Geico insurance.
How much you save? An average of $500?
About that, 15 minutes, 15%, you know.
Michael, we can't do you, okay? We just can't keep up with you, okay?
Dion, I am looking at you, and you are looking mighty spiffy tonight. Does your husband know you look this good on Facebook Live?
Girl, look, I need to. When I look back at some of them pictures, I thought, oh my God, I need to do a little better. I'm looking a little plump like a Thanksgiving turkey, so I had to do something, girl. I was like, Jesus and baby Jesus.
Well, you look good tonight.
Well, thank you. I got my eyelashes on. Tell Vivi me and her need to do Tell Vivi me and her need to do some business, okay? Because I need some new lashes, all right?
Okay, take your glasses off and flutter your eyes for America.
Ooh, all right, Miss Dion.
This is a magnetic shade. If you need some, Viviana, Angelina's daughter, will be selling them. So hit her up. I need
the
new
eyelashes.
Yes.
I mean, you really outdid it today. I mean, you got the lashes, the hair, the outfit. I mean, are you really going somewhere after this?
Girl, tomorrow is my birthday. I'm turning 30, so I was trying to look cute tonight.
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Yes.
Too bad we couldn't have that party because of the pandemic.
Girl,
but as soon as this thing over, yes, it is. And I hate that. But happy birthday to you.
Thank you so kindly. I appreciate it. Thanks for the song.
Yeah.
Sometimes I gotta give y'all my vocals. Me.
Hey, Angelina, sound like you trying out for the St. Paul Angelics, girl.
No.
That's funny.
All right. So before we get started, I have to say to the audience out there, can you check it out, y'all? We got shirts coming, unbothered.
Yay.
And I had to be unbothered today because they tried to come for me, y'all. At work, they had tried to come
They was
for
trying to come
me.
for you at work?
They was trying to come for me at work today on a Monday.
What's the
I had to
matter
put them. I don't know. I had to let somebody know in a nice, professional way. Like, don't come for me. As what's her name? Kenya Moore says, don't come for me unless I send for you.
I sent for you.
I didn't send for her.
Did you do a twirl? I didn't is the question.
No, I didn't get up and do the twirl.
You should have did the twirl.
So Angelina, what the person that was upset with you, they wanted to do the drive-through today, and they had you on fries.
Now, I will tell y'all before we get started. Let me tell y'all, I didn't last at McDonald's very long when I was turned 16. I got a job at McDonald's because I lived in Minnesota and they had me on the drive-through in the cold. I couldn't feel my fingers. I couldn't feel my toes. I told the lady, like, y'all gonna have to put somebody else back here. Let me thaw out.
Oh, my goodness.
And she wouldn't do it.
She was ready to send you home packing. She's ready to fire you.
I'm telling you, these people be coming for me. They better be glad I know Jesus.
They don't know who you are, do they?
They don't know who I am. They don't know who Bina is.
They don't know. Oh, we're not gonna take it back to the street, are we?
They better be glad Angelina shows up at work.
I know that's right.
Hey, Gary, I'm so glad you got your shirt today. So, are you in or are you out? That's what we're going to talk about tonight. I used to hear somebody say this all the time. My friend's husband, well, ex-husband now, but he used to always say, "Are you in or are you out?" And I don't think I really got that till I started, started building, developing, becoming a being, and I started working with different people. And when you start trying to be an entrepreneur, you have visions, and everybody doesn't see your vision. And you try to share your vision with everyone, and you can't share your vision with everyone, right? And
So
it's got to
true.
get to the point, when it comes to your life, are you in or are you out? Because I can't deal with if you ain't in, then I got to keep it moving, right? Are you in or are you out? And we have a lot of things going on in this world today and during this pandemic where you got to ask people, are you in or are you out? Are you in or are you out? You going to stay where you are, or you going to go with the movement? It's all kind of movements going on here. Right now, we got this unbothered movement that we've been pushing to be unbothered, to let go of the past, to not let what people say or do bother you and keep you bound. Right? We're on the unbothered movement. Are you in or are you out? You gonna go on this unbothered crusade with us and get unbothered, or are you gonna stay mad and unhappy and miserable and complaining? Gotta know, are you in or are you out? And we gotta start asking that question, especially when you're trying to go somewhere and you have people in your life that aren't trying to go where you're going. Are you in or are you out? And then you gotta be willing. You gotta be willing to leave some people behind. That's what we're going to talk about today. That is our topic. Are you in or are you out? And when people are not in, what you going to do? What you going to do? Are you going to stay with them and stay stuck, or are you going to keep on moving and let them figure it out? And for all of you out there who aren't in, you out, you can't get mad. You can't get mad when you get left behind. And so we're going to talk about that tonight as well. It's going to cost you. If you in, it's going to cost you. If you out, it's going to cost you. But it's going to cost you. So let's talk about that tonight. Dion, Michael, what's on your mind?
Well, Angelina, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate a little bit today because when you talk about are you in or are you out, what happens if you got a mate that's not in or out and you're going in a direction that they don't want to go in? How are we dealing with that? And that's just a little one of those areas that like-minded people, sometimes our spouses, it take them a while to get on board. So how are we handling that? Are we gonna kick them to the curb, or are we gonna give them some time to adjust? What we gonna do? Because it's kind of final when you say, "Are you in? Or are you out?" And if they don't share our dreams,
Oh, Dion, that's really deep. I got an answer, but I'm gonna let Michael give his thought
you gonna put
first.
Michael on the point for that one?
I do got some thoughts, though. I got some things to say about that. But go ahead, Michael.
Well, that is a very that's a delicious question. That
Mm-hmm.
that requires some thought, and just speaking um, from the perspective of couples counseling, that's probably one of the first questions in a roundabout way that you
Mary
have.
said that is out. Mary
Right.
said kick that hat to the curb.
Mary, I am so done with you right now.
Mary,
Why you
Mary,
got me
Mary,
cracking up
Mary.
on Facebook Live like this?
Only you, Mary. Don't be messing up our Facebook Live, messing with Michael.
Like, we trying to be serious. Oh my gosh, she got me rolling over here. All right, go ahead. Go ahead,
Di
Michael.
Mary is my sister.
I,
She's horrible.
Is she your sister? That's what I tell her. Don't be messing up our
Yes,
Facebook Live with
and
messing with you.
she my big little sister. No, no, no. You know, that's one of the first things that we have to figure out. Are y'all on the same page? Is one going up, the other one going down? You know, to speak biblically, he even said, "How can two walk together except they be agreed?" What are we working on? I'm working on gaining this and that. You working on just status quo. So that's going to cause some friction. And from friction cause hurt feelings, cause upsetness, cause disappointment, can cause somebody to say, I want to get somebody that's on my level. It could cause you to start having conversations with John Doe at work or Susie Q
Ooh.
at work, you know, someone who understands you. So you really do have to sit and really be intentional about your relationship. Baby, where we going? What we doing? So I don't advocate kicking nobody to the curb in a relationship per se, but we both got to put in some work. Marriage is a destination, it's a journey. And are we on the journey, or do you feel like we've already made the destination? So you got to work. And that's, like I said, that's one of the first questions. What are y'all trying to do? Why are y'all here? And usually you're not on the same page. So we start there. Where we at? What's different? And then we take it from there.
Now, that's something you should be doing before you ever get married, though. But the reality is, a lot of people don't.
Hmm.
A lot of people get married with no purpose. They don't have purpose for themselves. They don't have purpose for their marriage. And they're just so in love, and I just want to be with you. And we're not even thinking about purpose and where we want to go. And then, sometimes maybe you don't know. And then you get in a relationship and you get married, and all of a sudden you begin to discover who you are, because they say marriage is designed to grow you and show you who you are, right? And it's designed to make you a better you. So sometimes you don't really fully start becoming who you are until after you get married. And when
Hmm.
you fully become who you are, know who you are, that's when you begin to discover your purpose. So to Dion's question, you have um, you now got this newfound identity and purpose in your marriage, and you want to do some things, and your spouse is not on board. What are you going to do? I want to hear from you all out there. Tell me what you think. What would you do? Or what do you think people should do? But for me, I personally don't think that you should throw your spouse away. There was a reason why you married them. There was a reason why you loved them. And just because you begin to change doesn't mean that you just throw someone away. But I do think that there's ways to work around them not being on board. And sometimes you just have to make that decision. As hard as it is, you're going to have to make that decision that I'm just going to do it anyway. Now, what becomes hard is when they are doing things to sabotage what you're doing, right? And they're distracting you, and they're causing you to not be able to concentrate or do the things that you're supposed to do. And that becomes really hard, but you have to really know who you are and really know where you're going, so that you can stay focused and notice those distractions when they come up, right? And you're going to just have to find a way to work around things. You're going to have to find a way to work around it. If this is really what you're supposed to do, if this is really where you want to go, and this is really what you're wanting to do, you're going to find a way to get out of it. But it doesn't necessarily mean you throw your spouse away. Now, your spouse may come around after a while. Perfect story. I went to a conference this weekend. I got a comment to share, but I went to a conference this weekend, and one of the speakers was talking about how she met her husband, and he was already in the business. And so she met her husband, they got married. Within a year, they was engaged and married. And she didn't care nothing about what he was doing, nothing about the business he was trying to build. She didn't. When people asked her, "What does your husband do?" She's stumbling over words like, "I don't know." And she would get so upset when he would be like working while you're spending too much time at work. But he was trying to build something so that I can spend more time with you all, but I got to put some more upfront time into my business first, which is something a lot of people don't understand. And she said it took her 5 years. Now she's still not in the business, but it took her 5 years to finally come around and support him, understand what he was doing, and be there for him, right? And so now she's one of his biggest supporters. And so he didn't throw her away, but he kept building. Whatever he had to do, he kept building. I love you, but he kept building. I love you, kept building, right? Eventually she'll come around. So you got to just keep moving. Even if it's just a little bit at a time, I say go for it. Do what you need to do and just learn to work around it. Learn to recognize the distractions so you can nip that thing in the bud real quick and keep doing what you got to do. So we had a comment. Let me share. Joy Strong has a comment. She said, seek God. I'm going to believe he will guide you on how to operate if your spouse is not on board. I agree with that, Joy. What do y'all have to say about that?
I agree to that to a certain degree because I mean we're dealing with wills, okay? So if you're let's say for instance your spouse or let's talk about becoming the being a little bit. We know that because sometimes broke people come together and they marry each other and they both broke. One decide they want to get emotionally healed and the other one is not ready. The same thing happens sometimes when you're venturing out in business. One wants to do business and one doesn't want to. And if they're broken, to what detriment? I hear you, Joy, when you say seek God, but when you're dealing with a will with a spouse, that can be a little difficult sometimes if that person is resistant or may feel insecure or may feel intimidated by the person that you are and what you bring to the table. It could bring on some real home issues in a marriage to even a divorce. I'm not saying don't seek God. I'm just saying, do we need, Michael, do we need to go get some counseling? Do we need to do a lot more communicating? What do you suggest as far as that's concerned? Because we know God gave man a will, and in a relationship, in a marriage, when you're on opposing sides, it can be a difficult task.
Well, I
And I'm
like
sure
what
you understand that as well as I do, coming from a divorcee perspective. And it may not have not been business, but just in general, when you're dealing with hurt people and the things that hurt people do.
well, I think Angelita said the most important key. As long as he or she is not distracting or being a stumbling block or being that anchor around your neck, just because Angelina has a business per se, Doug may not that may not be his thing, but he ain't preventing Angelina from being all she could be. When she come home and she talk about, oh, Doug, they hating on me out here. He said, oh, baby, shake the haters off. You got this, baby. He may not get in there with her, but he's gonna give her encouraging words. So as long as he ain't saying, see, I told you, you wasting your time. You could be doing something with me. I don't know why that's what I'm saying. So I think as long as we're on the same page about where we're going from just an intimate perspective, a spiritual perspective, a mindset perspective. I'm about, doing this, you about doing that. We're both working. But when we come together, we have love, we have unity, we have peace. I'm going to encourage you. You encourage me. Now, if you got a discourager, you're in trouble. And which brings me to Dr. Verna Price. She's a renowned doctor in Minneapolis. She has a book, and it's called Adders, Subtractors, Multipliers, and Dividers. You got to figure out, is the person you're with, are they a subtractor or adder, a multiplier or a divider? Because if they're not on the positive side, then they're going to continue to pull you down. And you don't want to get pulled down. You want some multipliers that's going to maximize your potential and treat you with respect so you could do the work that you need to do that God has put you on this earth to do. You need someone who's an encourager, not a discourager.
Yeah, but if they're not an encourager, do you still throw them away?
I don't say throw them away, but at some point, Angelina and Sister Coates, the chickens are gonna start coming home to roost. You can only put up with a discourager. That's someone who is constantly draining you, constantly taking from you. After a while, you get tired of that. So you're gonna have to have a come to Jesus, or come to the therapist, or come to the pastor, or come to somebody, a third party, to say, hey, we got some issues right here. This is how I feel. I feel like every time I go up, you pull me back to two spaces, two places. You don't want me doing nothing. You're not trying to. A good man really wants his wife to be all she could be. And a good woman, she's proud when her husband is feeling, happy about his accomplishments, and she's there to be the wind beneath his wings. And if you don't have that, then it's going to start bringing you down. I'm telling you that right now. That's just a fact. If someone's a discourager, you can only put up with that for so long. I'm not saying throw them away, but my question in therapy is how long? Only you know that.
Well, I think that goes back to Joy's comment. When you seek God, and I'm gonna believe He will guide me on how to operate if your husband or your wife is not on board. You know, God, how should I approach this? God, how should I move forward? God, what do I say? When I'm met with the negativity, how do I diffuse the situation? Or, what are the words that I can say to that person in order to kind of make them okay about where I'm at, or where I'm going, or what I'm doing? And, some prayer, right? But I also believe one of the things for becoming a being is when you show up differently, they start to show up differently. Now, I know we got some narcissists that no matter how different you might show up, they're not changing. But for the most part, we always say somebody's got to get whole. Like Dion said earlier, somebody's got to get whole. That means someone in the relationship's got to do the changing. Someone in the relationship has to learn how to effectively communicate. Someone in that relationship has to learn how to set the boundaries, or do whatever, when it comes to being whole. Because when you start to show up differently, then they have to respond differently. If I'm no longer, as what I say, taking the bait, don't take the bait. I always say, don't take the bait. If I'm no longer taking the bait to what you're giving me, you're so used to me going off, but I'm no longer going off, then you've got to find a different approach, because what you're doing is no longer unbothered. That's why I'm on the unbothered crusade, because we take baits and we allow people to bait us into going back to our old ways, or acting out of character, right? But if you can be unbothered by whatever they're saying, whatever they're doing, and not distracted, seek God and tell Him, fill my mouth. What should I say in this moment? Sometimes you should maybe say nothing in the moment, right? But if you really want their marriage to work, but you want to be able to pursue you, which is to pursue your purpose, then you're going to have to find a way to effectively communicate and work around that thing. So I have another comment. Gary Davis says, we have to ask questions to understand their reluctance. Good point. To support you. Sometimes they are insecure in themselves and could be afraid of success. They may have become comfortable with just getting by. So that
That's
is
very good.
go ahead. Thought.
I was going to say that's excellent what he says, because sometimes when you find a spouse that might be afraid of the success or insecure in who they are, sometimes that can be intimidating, and it doesn't propel them to move forward because they feel like they're trying to walk a mile in your shoes instead of understanding that, hey, I'm doing this for us. Because a lot of times I think sometimes spouses don't recognize when one spouse sacrifices something for the greater good. I'm not just doing it for me, I'm doing it for us. I'm doing it for the greater good of the family. And I think sometimes they think that, and I'm not saying it for me, I'm just saying it in general because my husband has been very supportive and I don't want him to, if he's listening, I don't want him to feel like I'm speaking about him because I'm really not. And to those of you that listening, I'm not really speaking about my husband, I'm just speaking in general. And coming from a relationship where sometimes it can be combative because that person doesn't understand who they are, where you're going, and they can think that it's a selfish motivation. So I think we have to be careful, and sometimes it's wise even to get counsel. We don't want to get the counseling because it means that something is broke. But if you're going through this situation, something is already broken. So you need to fix it. So you may need to go out and get counseling. I think the same thing in relationship with friends. Sometimes friends get jealous of your successes and the things that you're doing, and because they don't understand the time and the energy that you have to put into something to make something great, it can be intimidating for them or even create a rift in the relationship because number one, they jealous, or number two, they're secure, or they don't have enough to go out and get something on their own to be successful. So you deal with it, on that end spectrum of it too. Do we want to get into that area as well with relationships and friendships, not so much as just spouses, people, period?
Yeah, I think what Gary said is something that does happen when you have one spouse who is successful. Oftentimes, the other spouse feels left behind. They feel left out. They are insecure about your success. Are you gonna leave me? You professionally have left me. I deal with a lot of females who are successful in their own rights. For the most part, they have degrees, and they tell me, well, a lot of the men that I try to talk to, they don't have degrees. They're intimidated of my degree, and they think that I'm some hoity-toity person, but really I'm down to earth. But it's the stigma, an educated female acts, bourgeois, and it might be a little intimidating. So some of the spouses, whether it's male or female, if the man starts becoming more successful, a female may feel like, he's leaving me. Is he gonna leave me for somebody more of his ilk? There are many doctors who are divorce rate. Look up divorce rate when it comes to medical professionals like doctors. It's high because the spouses say, I know I'm not good enough for him anymore. He's a doctor, or he's a lawyer. I'm just a housewife, or vice versa. She's this, wonderful person. I'm just a sanitation worker. She couldn't possibly find anything redeemable in me. She wants somebody better for her. So it's pretty high for professionals whose spouse is not a professional. So Gary is hitting the nail on the head, and he's cheating because Gary does this for a living.
And the
So we
divorce
should have had
rate,
him on here tonight.
No,
I
Gary's
know,
good.
right? The divorce rate is about 33%.
I just looked that up.
It's
So they
higher
said,
than that. That
well,
it's,
Yeah,
it's
it
much
it
higher.
probably
varies.
is. This is from 2019. It says physicians have a 24% likelihood of divorce, 23% for pharmacists, 25% for dentists, 31% for healthcare executive, 33 for nurses, 27
And
for lawyers.
mine say 35 for lawyers. Mine may be 20. Mine is 2029. Mine says 2019 too, Angelina.
Yeah. Now you
Mine
couple
have
that
about
with other ones that
35%
are
for
much
lawyers.
lower because
Yeah.
it's not a professional field, just an average Joe. They're on the same level. But when one is much higher than the other one, there's that degree of why would he want to stay with someone like me? I'm a nobody. So it happens.
It does. So I want to say, um, to Gary's point here, though, and we have to ask the questions again. When somebody's got to get help. Somebody's got to be healed in this relationship, and part of healing is knowing how to effectively communicate your feelings, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and knowing how to effectively communicate is also knowing how to seek and ask questions so you can understand other people's perspective. That's all a part of emotional intelligence, how to use, understand, and manage your emotions and your feelings and understand other people's perspectives. But there's going to have to be some patience that when you've gotten whole, somebody had to be patient with you in your transition. Now, at this point, you're going to have to create a safe haven for your spouse or significant other to give them the room to grow. Just like somebody gave you the room to grow, you got to give them the room to grow as well. And that starts with trying to understand their feelings. But what happens when you got someone who's really lacks emotional intelligence, and every time you're asking these questions, right, you're trying to get clarity because they lack emotional intelligence. They can't tell you how they feel. They can't tell you what they're thinking. They can't really express themselves. Like, how do you work around that?
Great question.
That is a good
Well,
question. Go ahead,
yeah,
Sister Coates.
I was gonna say, you said something too, Angelina, that's pretty powerful when you get healed, about being intentional. I think sometimes the understanding for that whole person is probably gonna be his greatest, and they're gonna have to shrug a lot of the responsibility. So you have to do your due diligence and know if you're in it for the long haul, because it might cost you a little bit more than it costs your spouse, especially if you're emotionally healed and you know where that person has been and where that person is and where you've been. It's going to require a lot more from you than of course it is going to be for them. So you just have to be dedicated to it to the long haul and making sure that you got the right mindset and the right attitude toward it, because sometimes we can think we healed in some areas and then get attitude and sitting in anger and some of everything else and stewing and not really bringing what we need to bring to the table. So we have to be really careful and very intentional to walk in God's love. That's where you're going to really need to pray and seek God's face for some understanding, because you're going to be the main giver and the main understander. You're going to be the one understanding and the one doing everything, putting everything up in front when it seems like your spouse or whomever is not doing that much. So it's gonna be a big job, but you can make it through. I believe it.
So most of us, we can communicate. Angelina was talking about emotional intelligence. We say emotional maturity or immaturity. Sometimes your growth is mentally stunted by trauma. And when trauma comes in, it hijacks your ability to communicate effectively. You're afraid to really tell the other person how you feel. You will, it seems like you're being evasive when you're really just trying to protect yourself. You're scared. So, how do we work around that? That individual has to have some individual work. It's hard and difficult, and I'll say almost impossible. How can I do couples therapy with someone who is not ready to even explore the idea of something may be wrong with me? So I usually stop the couples therapy and I ask them both as not to make one of them feel like they're the quote unquote broken one. I ask them first to seek some individual therapy so they could work on, their own fears, that their own trauma, things that prevent them from being able to communicate. When you with someone like that, it makes for a very difficult relationship because the more you try to get them to talk, the more they just clam up. So it's called distance pursuer. The more I chase, the more you run. The more I beg, the more you withhold. The more I try to show you how this needs to happen, the more you're going to show me you don't want it to happen. So that person has to get some individual help first to at least get them to a point where they can have a conversation with their spouse. And you know, we all get married for different reasons, and I believe most people get married because they believe this person is someone that they love and someone that can, help them to achieve things in life. But when we get married, oftentimes we don't see 10 years down the road. We just see tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So marriages, I hate to say it, it's like going to Vegas. 50% of all marriages end in divorce. Now that's real. You definitely could look that one up.
Let's pull it up and see what it says.
Yeah, say 50%. And given whatever outlet you use, some say 55, some say it's higher in socioeconomic, status, lower. Some say SES higher, but it's up there. The point
It's
is,
50%.
yeah, you don't know.
50%.
So the three of us get married, one of us is going to get a divorce, and it's higher for the second divorce.
Really?
Yes, it's
Is it?
even higher for the second one. I think that one is up to 60, 70%. And if
We'll
you
have to
come
talk
from
about
a,
that on the we'll have
yeah,
to talk about that on another. We'll have to make that one
yeah,
of our topics
oh yeah,
because you know you would think that the second time around you would have learned some things learned from your mistakes of the first, and you don't.
you do. And
You
74%.
do?
this is what you learn.
74%.
You learn that you ain't putting up with it as long as you did the first time.
Right.
So you out.
It's
Yeah,
74%. It
it's
says
real
74%.
high.
But we don't see ourselves as the common denominator.
That's hard to do.
All right,
Oftentimes there.
we're gonna save that one for we're gonna have that as a different topic. I'm gonna
Yeah.
stay on topic. All right. So let's go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, and if you come from a divorced parents, your chances are even higher that you're gonna get a divorce. So it's layers to this thing.
It
Wow.
really is. Um, that's one of those cycles. You
Yeah.
gotta break free from the cycle. So let's shift the conversation and talk a little bit about when you're going places and the people around you are not. And and you got some decisions that you have to make. Because we have a lot of people who I think, just my opinion of what I see, that God's trying to do some things in your life, but we're so caught up in our environment and the people around us that aren't doing anything that we are either afraid to do something, we're reluctant, we're hesitant, we procrastinate, um, we get a little fearful, and we don't move and do what we need to do to advance our life. And then we end up getting stuck in the cycle, right? And we don't know how to let people go. That's part of that. Are you in or you out? And I mean, you can look at it from both perspectives. Are the person who needs to move, are you in or you out? Are you going to stay here or are you going to go? Right? Or or telling the people, hey, I'm going. So are you in or you out? You going with me or you not? But we get so afraid of leaving people behind. Can we talk about that a little bit? Not wanting to change your environment when that environment is not nurturing and supportive of who you are and what God has for you. Why we don't want to leave?
I think Tyler Perry says it the best when he talk about people and trees, and he talks about people in seasons. He talk about trees, how some people are there for the long haul. They're branches. They hang on. They're going to be there forever. They're going to rally you on and see you through whatever, and they're going to be there for your successes and so forth. And then some people are like leaves. They're only there for a season, and when the season is over with, the leaves, what do? They fall off the trees and they go. Sometimes some of um the branch look like branches, but they're twigs, and they pop out the tree. So I think people are seasonal. They're supposed to be in your life for a season, and some people can't handle success and handle your success and be happy for you and rally you on. They always find some fault in it, and I think like everything else, they probably, need to be healed emotionally. Brings us back to becoming a being. They need to be healed and understand that because you're successful doesn't mean that I should be intimidated or not happy for you because of your success. Find some success of your own. I'm sure there's something that you can do that can be beneficial and great in this world, but I think we are in competition. Like, I got to be as smart as you or whatever. I'm so glad that we don't have that kind of relationship, that we can encourage one another and build one another up and actually help one another out, that we don't have to be intimidated by one another's success, and encourage each other and failures to keep on moving. And I think as a people, we don't do that a lot. We haven't seen it, so we don't know how to do it well, or maybe we didn't get it from home.
Well, I think one of the things is, what is the foundation of the relationship? So, um, what is the foundation of the relationship? Because some people come together out of the commonality of their brokenness, and they bond and they support each other in that brokenness and in that misery. And if I get healed, then how if I get healed, then how does that change the dynamics of our friendship, right? And then
Oh.
sometimes that brokenness of the people around us keeps drawing me into the staying in that brokenness, and identifying with that brokenness, and that environment doesn't allow you to heal. And so, Dion, for you and I, our foundation of our friendship was not built on a common brokenness, right?
Well, that's
When I
true.
when I met you, you were healed from what the hurt and pain I was going through. So therefore, you were able to be my accountability partner. You didn't really start out as a friend. Like, we called you a friend, but you really weren't my friend, right? You were my accountability partner. You were my
Uh,
counselor. You were my girl, stop being stupid. Girl, don't you do that. Like, you were that person, right? And then
mm,
our relationship developed into a friendship, as I began to heal. But the foundation of who we are, we it wasn't built off of brokenness. And you have some people whose relationships are built on that brokenness. And if that brokenness leaves, then what do we have in common? And we're so afraid of oh, well, they were there for me, and they comforted me and they walked me through this. But where are you, boo? God's trying to take
mm,
you somewhere, and you're staying in that same place, just so that in that same environment, because you feel obligated to these people, and you can't continue to feel obligated at the cost of your life and where God wants to take you. Gary says, I fully agree with Dion about seasonal relationships. We need to be comfortable taking some journeys alone. Absolutely. And willing to return a better person to help someone else alone. It's gonna cost you. Are you in or you out? Are you gonna stay in where you are, or are you gonna go out? Like, are you gotta be sold out to you. I just think you gotta be sold out to you, and making your life better and being a better person, and not being sold out to everyone else and feeling obligated to stay where you are when it's not beneficial to you. Welcome back, Mike.
yeah, welcome back, Mike.
Sorry about that. Somebody,
That's
Yes.
two people playing PS5 in different rooms. You up all the bandwidth. Now, I want to comment and say, I think it's just in our nature not to leave someone. We have been nurtured, and it's from our ancestors. It takes a village. No matter what, we just keep on trying to bring this person along. Even the armed services has the slogan, we don't leave no man on the battlefield. No matter how broken they are, no matter, when a soldier goes back to get another soldier on the battlefield that's wounded, he's given like one of the greatest medals, because it was the greatest act of bravery. I haven't been in the armed services, so I don't know what medal it is, but it's like one of the highest medals you could get.
Purple
So,
Heart.
and I, yeah, and I
It's a
think,
Purple Heart.
well, that's when you're wounded, but it's another one if you go back. Like you saw your buddy get shot
Or
on
when
the
you go back to
battlefield.
get someone.
Yeah, you could have escaped, but you return, you putting your life in jeopardy to save another. I think that's just in our DNA as people. And it's difficult for us to leave someone. And I think we need to get out of feeling guilty about leaving someone who doesn't want to come along. That's another thing. If they on the side of the road with a flat tire and they trying to go, and you're gonna pass them by like uh the story of the good Samaritan, the Levite and the priest. They passed by on the other side. They didn't want to go help man, but the you know the you know I forgot what it's called, but my house of Jacob folks probably like, I can't believe he don't know the story. There you go, marijuana. The Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan, he stopped by, he helped the man, and he said, I'll pay whatever it costs to get him well. And when I return, if it costs more, I'll still do it. I'll still pay. That's just in our DNA to help. So it's hard for us to leave.
So I hear what you're saying, but as you're saying it, what I was hearing in the back of my mind was that soldier that went back to get the other soldier, they were in it together, and you failed. Let me go help my brother up. We not talking about somebody who was never in it. They were out. You wasn't feeling it. You wasn't down for me. You wasn't walking with me. As soldiers, we in this thing together. We was in boot camp together. We done struggled together. We done got beat up together. We done got kitchen duty together. I don't know, whatever the punishments are. We done had to run miles and all that good stuff. We're in this together. And so when something happens to you, then yeah, I'm gonna go back and get you, because it's not like you were trying to stay there. You had a fall, you stumbled. Let me help you out because I'm further along. I'm a little bit stronger. Let me help you out because you're still moving. You're still wanting to go versus someone who's not moving. They
But
didn't want to go.
that's the pull of you, the person. That person started off running with you. If y'all got married, y'all were running in the same direction. Somewhere along the line, he or she took a detour or whatever. So I'm saying it's just that pull, Angelina. It's kind of like what we was talking about. The pull is so strong not to leave them, to where how many cases or how many examples can you think of a female that stayed too long versus a female that said, you know what, I don't figure this out, I'm out. Most of the time find a female or male who we say they stayed too long because it's just hard to break away. That's what I'm saying. It's in our DNA to stay there and try our best. There's gonna come a time where you're gonna have to cut bait and run, but usually that person stays a little bit longer than most of us say, man, you stayed in that marriage 15 years. And if you really talk to them, they're like, yeah, but it was over after the fifth year, but I just kept hoping he would come along a little bit. He would run with me. He would say he can get better. He would say he gonna get a job. He would get a job. He would work for 6 months. If a man worked 6 months who ain't never had a job, you see that as a victory, and you stay with him 2 years because he showed you for 6 months he did something. So, if he shows any amount of in it, you stick with him a little bit longer than you have to. When sometimes he would just do it so you wouldn't leave, but it tugs on our heartstrings because we'll say, your girlfriends will say, girl, come on now. He ain't did nothing, girl. He trying. He trying. He went out and looked for a job yesterday. That's hard to leave. That's what I'm saying.
But is it DNA or are we conditioned to be that way?
Mm-hmm.
Does our environment condition us to be that way?
I don't know why you're getting close to the camera like you're punking somebody. No, it is. It's what you've been nurtured. Is generally what you see. I haven't seen any study or research yet that says staying too long in a marriage is in your DNA. No, you watch your mama or your auntie or your best friend stay too long, and it's just, girl, you just, when you married, girl, you just, some things you just have to accept, girl. You know, here Marshawn will be all right, Leroy will be fine, or Susie, whatever. You know, you gonna hang in there. Most times you ain't just gonna jump ship when they show you that they're not the person you thought they was. Usually you're gonna, you know, be like, well, maybe this is just a blip on the map, until the blip hits like 50 more times. Then you like, I think that's the way he is. By the time you don't put in 5, 6, 7 years.
So how do we
Well,
change our mindset to understand and know that it's time? You got to change your environment. You gotta, if you really want a better life, you're gonna have to make some move. You're gonna have to change the people around you. You may have to change your location. I'll use me for an example. Um, I left Minnesota and I moved to Cincinnati because I'm like, yeah, I can't stay here. This environment is just really not good for my mental well-being right now. It's just too much going on, and I'm gonna, if I don't leave, I'm gonna go insane. So I gotta go, But it's so many people that they don't like where they are, they don't like what's happening in their life, but they won't change the environment, or at least change the people around you that um, contribute to you not being where you want to be. Like, we won't go seek advice, we won't go seek people who are doing better than us. I'm in a mindset now. I'm like, okay, I told my husband, that's why we went to the conference this weekend. Listen, we're going to have to change our environment. We're going to have to start getting around more people who's doing the things that we want to do, so that we can learn from them, so we can stay motivated, so that we'll know what we're doing and we can stay focused. We got to get in a different environment where people have the mindset for success. But some of us are just so, we know we need to
stuck.
change the people around us. We're stuck. Yeah. Yes,
Stuck.
yes, that's the word.
hmm
Well,
And
you know,
let me
Angelina,
say
you
this.
move. Go ahead, Miss Coates.
I was going to say, I would have been one of those people that would have been stuck had my grandfather not seen the potential in me. And he said, Dee Dee, I'm going to send you to Cincinnati to be with your aunt when I was going through a divorce situation, because I think you need to change your pace. I'm glad I heard him and I leaped, and even though I came for a 2 week vacation, it wound up being a lifetime. But had he not gave me a one-way ticket, if he had given me a two-way ticket, I probably would have been back home a lot earlier. But since he only gave me a one-way ticket and said, well, when you get ready, let me know and I'll send for you, it created an atmosphere for us. I think some of us are fearful of leaving a comfort zone and not realizing or recognizing that there's a great big world out there, and there's other opportunities and things that you can do instead of just staying around what you're accustomed to or what you're familiar with. So because it brings some comfort to you, sometimes you have to be thrusted into the world and see what it has to offer for you. My mom was like, how are you going to live in Cincinnati all by yourself? Your aunt is leaving. I said, well, Mom, if God brought me here, he certainly has a plan for me. And lo and behold, he did. um, but and as a 21-year old, that's pretty young to leave and come 10 miles away from what you're accustomed to. You can't just turn around and go home anytime you want to. But one word keep on coming back to me, Angelina, that one of our favorite people, ministers, that he talks about reciprocity and how relationships should bring you reciprocity. And a lot of times some relationships don't bring the reciprocity, and we have to decide if we're going to be out or in, if we're going to stay in those relationships or if we're going to move on. Some relationships we have to move on from because they don't bring us reciprocity.
You know, so you said a couple things, Diddy and Angelina. You know, y'all made a move, but there were still some people that thought y'all was making a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are usually your family, your close friends, who don't want you to leave. It's not about you, it's about them. Some of them are really saying, don't leave me. I don't have the gumption to get up and go like you. So don't leave me. I know people that have lived, and I'm not saying anything negative about them. They've lived in the same spot forever. For someone like me, I just can't do it. And after a while, I wanna go and experience something else. But when I experience something else, I grab a new tool in my tool bag. I went from Florida, didn't have a lot of skills, but I had a lot of ambition. I went to a place called Minnesota that if you have ambition, they had people there that would get behind you and would help you and guide you to where you should go. After I got it there, regardless of how I got here in Ohio, I'm here. And now things are better here than they were in Minnesota. But ultimately, when I get a little bit older, I want to go right back to Florida and retire. So it's like, you keep moving, but everybody's not like that. They're just not in their DNA. They just, and the word is stuck. But even Abraham, the Lord told Abraham to do what? To get away from your family. Get away. Because sometimes the only way to break free is to break free. That's the only way. If not, you're going to be stuck right there doing the same old things that your grandmama was doing, your mama was doing. I have people in my neighborhood who have never, ever left the city of Tampa. That's sad. Because as much as I like Tampa, it ain't exactly like the most popping place on earth. But I mean, it's all that, and I believe that because that's my hometown. But there's other places out here that's popping and sizzling too. So I say, get out of your comfort zone. To those people that really want to move. You'll be all right. If you make it there, you can make it somewhere else. Guarantee you, you can.
So, Michael, that was good. I like that Abraham thing because he did. He told him to get out from where he was, and um, he had to leave his family. And it's probably a lot of stories in the Bible of people who had to leave from where they were in order to get what God had for them. There was Ruth,
Yeah.
Naomi and Ruth, right?
Yeah.
They had to go somewhere else in order for some things to happen. Ruth had to go somewhere else to find her Boaz, right?
Indeed.
Some of y'all out there wondering where. Well, y'all don't want Boaz, I hear. But for those of y'all out there wondering where your husband is, he's probably not in the city where you are. You probably need to change your environment, right? Or that job that you're so seeking, you need to change that environment. You don't got your degree, but the demand for what you're doing is not where you are. You gotta be able to change your environment. But I'm going to wrap it up because we're at the top of the hour. Any last thoughts that y'all want to share with people?
Yeah, let me say this while you talked about people changing their environment. Let's talk about Jesus. When Jesus was born, he could do nothing great in his own city. He had to be on the move. And when he was on the move, he couldn't minister to the people in the town that he lived in as a young man. People followed him um, in groves once he was able to move from where he was into different countries, and he would minister to people. So even God Himself, Jesus, wrapping Himself in Jesus as flesh, recognized that He had to be on the move, and that would be His greatest work as He was on the move, and He would minister to people, and people would be saved and set free. But just wanted to state that people, you teach who you are. And if you don't like what you're teaching, teach something different. We have the opportunity, even in this pandemic and this lifestyle that we're in, to do something different, or even to move somewhere different, to change the environment. Whatever it is that God is speaking to you, or you've been seeking, searching for, if you haven't found it in these 30 years that you've been living, or 40 years that you've been living, it's time to do something different. Change the environment that you're living in, change the way that you think, get emotionally healed, or get some help. That's it.
So mine is change is difficult, but change is necessary. All good ideas, great ideas came from someone changing their perspective on it. We wouldn't have a light bulb if nobody thought, let's do something different. We'll all still be walking around with candles. We'll all still be riding horses. We all still be, going to the well for water. Somebody said, let's do something different. Everybody looked at that person and said, you crazy. But from craziness comes some things that we could use today. So I say, in the end, change is necessary. And as always, I always say, be humble, be kind, and be healthy. That's it for me.
And I'm just going to say, be unbothered. Join the Unbothered movement, y'all, and look for t-shirts coming soon. We love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be here next Monday. Happy birthday, Dion.
Happy birthday, Didi.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, y'all. Love you.
Peace. Love you to peace.